Okay, it's recording.
Okay, great. This is a meeting of the South Kingstown Sustainability Committee. It is Monday, May 17th. It is 6:05 p.m. My name is Angela Twoney. I am here. I'm going to do a roll call. So when I say your name, just say here. Jim Norman.
Here.
Chris Hubbard.
Here.
Mark Kravitz.
Here.
And Tony Silbert.
Here.
And Mark Russo.
Here.
Is here. And we have some guests as well. Kathleen Stanley.
Here.
Jonathan Daly LaBelle.
Here.
And Pam Lizada. I'm sorry if I butchered that.
Yeah, here. Pam Lizada.
Thank you. Okay. We have minutes from April to approve or not. Any comments on the minutes, the April minutes, last meeting? No, so resounding no.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I second it.
Okay, great. Any discussion? All in favor to approve the minutes? Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous approval. Look at us. Okay, agenda item 4, correspondence and public comment. So for Jim sent over the PowerPoint presentation from our last meeting. Thank you, Jim. Did you have any comments on that or
I don't.
just sharing? Okay, thank you. And Chris sent an invitation to the food recovery for Rhode Island session. Is that through URI? Was that what I saw?
It is, yeah. And I think Mark D did attend it on Wednesday. I wasn't able to make it. My schedule fell apart, but Mark attended it.
Okay, great. Yeah, it looked great. We'll have to talk to him when he's around again. 4C, Jamie Rhodes sent some correspondence about the community choice. And we also are going to hear from Kathleen Stanley.
Yes, Kathy will fill us in on some of the, if you guys have any questions about that docket item, she'll fill us in of those issues that are going on. If they're normal or not, she'll let us know. Kathy, take it away.
So yeah, I saw these two documents came through. When was the outstanding issues? Just listed out some of the, it looks like it's all really around data, information and data. What should be shared, what should it not be shared? You know, and typically the utility doesn't want to share anything or as little as possible. And typically there's other interested parties that need them to share some at least. And this is what happens, right? Everyone sort of goes around in a circle and pretty soon the PUC just decides what's going to happen. So that's what it looks like to me. I think that's all pretty standard stuff, actually. Whatever that shakes out of this in terms of what information is going to be provided on what schedule or level is going to be what it is. There isn't a lot of room for negotiation typically on this kind of thing. So that's what I saw. I don't know if you guys had any specific questions I can help you with. I talked to Nathan Cleveland at OER about this today. He's the guy I work with at the state. And he didn't have quite anything else to add except for what I just shared with you now. So I don't know if you guys went through all of this in detail or if you have anything specific you wanted to discuss.
Why isn't our best interest? I mean, getting the most amount of information from the utility? I mean, what would we hope for?
Yeah, I mean, that they have to share a certain amount. So the aggregators are going to want to get as much information from the utility as possible because that's where all the information is. And the utility is going to resist doing an overabundance of work because it's expensive and because their systems are not easy. And they're mining this information out of their very old ancient databases is usually takes, like, they have to actually commit individuals lots of time to do stuff like this. Their systems are old and they've never been set up to really work with this kind of a program. If you think about what you're asking them, right? You're looking for meter data, customer data, for residential customers. So not the typical kind of stuff that they're used to working with, which are the largest users on the system. Those are the kinds of pieces of information that they can tap into really easily. So, and then the other part of what I read in there too was, you know, people that you have on your residential tariff and system that are enjoying discount rates for other reasons, you don't want those people to be disrupted and inadvertently put on a tariff, or put on, not a tariff, because this is not a tariff, but put on a rate that would be not in their best interest without them having the ability to sort of opt out. So this gets tricky. I don't really think there's a position that we would have one way or the other on this. I think it's really, you kind of need to let your aggregator go to bat for you in terms of getting the information that they need. And that it's going to come down to the PUC basically saying, nope, you have to do this, whatever it is, at the end of the day.
So Kathy, I have a quick question on that. What are the risks for our aggregation? I mean, is it going to hurt us more than not if they don't get all the information they need or want? Or are we still looking at keeping the same amount of participants in this program?
Yeah, here's the bottom line is the aggregator needs to get as many people to participate in the program as possible in order for it to become economically advantageous for them to participate. So, like, for example, it's one of the reasons that we don't do opt-in programs. You wouldn't be able to get enough people to opt in to make it worth their while, because they're not making from their point of view, they're not nonprofits. They are people that provide electricity and natural gas to users, and they need to make a profit in doing that. That's what they are. That's what they do. So for them to be interested in providing a quote to an aggregation, there has to be, on a residential level, a lot of participants for them to be interested in even participating. If you came to them with a community that was so small in terms of the number of people who are participating, that it wouldn't make sense for them to do the work. It wouldn't make any sense from a business point of view.
Kathleen, are we one of those communities? Is South Kingstown too small?
No, as long as you have an opt-out program and not an opt-in program, you're going to be fine.
Yep.
The vast majority of people don't care. They should care. They should care greatly, because they're going to save money and they're going to enjoy a nice, steady supply cost. Whereas right now, their rates are going to change every 6 months, whether they like it or not. And sometimes they're going to change by a lot. You know, you have a weird market situation and a really bad storm in the Gulf, and guess what? You know, things are going to go a little wacko. You're going to be picking up your electric bill going, wow, what's going on? So these programs are very good. And I also think it gives those of us who care about where the electricity is coming from, whether it's renewable or not, the ability to offer those options to our residential customers. In Massachusetts, we're actually doing that. We're giving customers choices. Like, they can say, well, I want to choose that 100% of my electricity comes from renewable sources, and I'm willing to pay more for it. We can do that. So when you start to get into these aggregations, there's a lot of good stuff that can happen because of them, because of the programs. But just as a matter of economics, you need to have an opt-out program and not an opt-in program. So that means the aggregator needs, if the aggregator is the person sort of providing the service to you and doing all of this heavy lift around understanding these things, understanding these economics, and being able to provide a platform, a program to the suppliers, where they're interested in bidding on it. So that's the magic that the aggregator has to come up with. They have to make, and we're in a public realm, and we're dealing with utilities, and we're dealing with, residential customers of a municipality. So there's a lot of sensitivity around things like this information and data and who owns that data. And so that's why there is so much around those topics, because they're important, sensitive topics to discuss, but they'll get through it. And I think you're going to have a very successful program at the end of the day.
Kathleen, has there been commentary from the PUC commissioners regarding this? And any idea, like any chance you could provide a brief synopsis of those comments?
So I saw two documents. One was a memorandum of outstanding issues. Some of them were contested. Should the customer information include the customer's competitive supply rates? Was a contested issue. I don't really know how they're gonna, at the end of the day, sort of rule on this stuff. Should National Grid be required to produce duplicate EDI lists directly to aggregators? Gee, I haven't got a clue whether they should be able to do that, but the documents that Mark sent out to me captures these contested issues and also outlines some issues that are not contested. And then there's another document, Good Energy proposed positions on this stuff, with a really nice explanation of what each one of them is. And Good Energy, of course, is your aggregator. So they're the ones that are going to get into the mix here and try and figure out what's best for your program. So I would read those two over carefully. And I know that the Good Energy folks have people who are available to you to get into the weeds on this stuff if you want to have those kinds of discussions. But I saw here who that was. I might have to dig through this to find that person, but the Good Energy people, that document, have you folks seen these?
Yep.
Yeah.
That really goes into the detail of what their position is. And, at the end of the day, whatever shakes out here is it's not really something you're going to be able to influence, I don't think. I think it's going to really come down to utility and the aggregator and the PUC, because they're really in the know of all these little different details of what the utility can't do, what they can do, what's worth haggling over and what isn't. I think at the end of the day, I wouldn't worry too much about these things, because I think you're going to be fine. I mean, they're going to obviously approve an aggregation program. I mean, why wouldn't they? Works everywhere else. They kind of have to. So that's like
my last question is just, do you know the timeline for this docket?
I do not. Nothing happens fast here, they'll haggle over all these little different details until they bang out something that everyone agrees to sort of move forward with. And I don't know what the time frame could be. What is Good Energy telling you? Anything from that point of view?
No. Oh, sorry about that. No, they haven't said anything. Basically, the timeline that I sent out to everybody, I don't know, maybe we're looking for June or July, the next meeting. I'm not sure what the PUC, I guess they're pretty.
Have you had anybody from Good Energy come to the Sustainability Committee meetings?
Yes,
Not in a long time.
a while ago.
A while ago.
Yeah,
Might be
Jamie
time
came.
Yeah, it might be time for a revisit then.
Okay.
To answer some of these questions, because they're in front of these guys all the time. I mean, I picked
Mhm.
this document up and looked it over. I can certainly tell you from a high level what most things, from my experience, what happens, but they're the unqualified experts in this area and have been instrumental to me and in Dartmouth and Westport, two communities I work with in Massachusetts. Just went through a whole new pricing contract with them. I am very impressed, I got to tell you. They really know their stuff. And they're sensitive to the communication issues and that kind of thing. There was a public hearing that I jumped onto that Mark gave me a heads up to about a month ago. And there was only one question, and it was someone from the town who wanted to know why we didn't do an opt-in. Why did we pick to do an opt-in? You're not going to pick to do an opt-in there. That won't, it just, the model doesn't work. You know, you're not trying to be difficult with the rest. You're just, you're running the program the only way that it actually has any economic advantage for the people who it really has to, you know, it has to make sense. But I mean, they did a really good job when they did the contract renewal that we just went through in January. And those prices were all locked down, like, I want to say 6 months ahead of time. So we had plenty of time to follow the market, get indicative pricing. They had, of course, everybody's on a Zoom call because it was in the middle of a pandemic, but 22 communities had representatives on Zoom and followed all of those discussions just fine. So I think it might be time, Mark, to call your rep. And I can't remember, I know it's Phil Carr in Massachusetts, but that's not the same guy in Rhode Island. And
Jamie?
ask him.
Would it be Jamie?
Jamie?
Yeah, either Jamie or Patrick.
Yeah.
I think it's a good idea to ask them to come to one of your meetings and dig into the weeds on this stuff, you know?
Yeah, just give an update.
But that's what I saw. It was all sort of down to the wire that, you know, how much data, how often are you going to make
Right.
us give you, you know?
Yeah. But overall, it doesn't sound like the program's in jeopardy of not moving forward.
Not at all.
Like that.
Not if they're talking about
That's
that.
the biggest concern.
Yeah, no. They're haggling over now. We're talking about the pennies that are on the table. Okay, who's
That's
gonna
a good
get
sign.
5%? Very good sign. Yeah, because, you know, and the PUC is sensitive to this problem with utilities. I've worked for utilities, and it's a very serious problem in terms of trying to mine data out of databases that were built on, you know, software that's 50 years old, and they continue to try and upgrade and update to the best of their ability. But it's much more difficult than you could imagine from their point of view. So they are a little sensitive to that, because everything that they make the utility do means they're going to have to be some person mining that data out and managing that flow of information. It's not like, you know, you don't just push a button. So I don't know if that helps or not, but.
No, it does.
Does.
Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you.
My pleasure. If there's anything anybody else needs from me, just let Mark know, and I'm at your service.
I just
Thank
wanted to
you.
say that we had Jamie Rhodes from Good Energy and the town council president, Abel Collins, in a local meeting that we organized from Climate Action Rhode Island to let the others towns know about the community choice segregation. And that question came when in South Kingstown this program would come live, and Jamie Rhodes and Eva Collins, they say they believe will be this fall, October, coming live.
So Pam, I'm sorry, could you just announce yourself and tell us where you're from? Just for the record.
Oh, sorry, I'm a South Kingston resident. I'm Pamela Lesaeta, and I am very much for climate action, and I'm a member of the Climate Action Rhode Island. I'm also in the sustainability subcommittee of the school, trying to bring environmental education into the schools. And this is my first time in this meeting. I wanted to see what you guys are doing, and I probably comments. I'll have something to tell you or about composting. Thank you.
Okay,
Great.
thank you.
Thank you. Okay, great. Thank you again, Kathy.
My pleasure. Take care, you guys.
Take care.
Thank
Yeah.
you,
Let me know if
Kathy.
you need anything. I'm here. This is what I'm here for.
Talk to you later.
Okay, moving on. 4D, we have Jonathan Daly LaBelle and Lauren Weinstock. Again, might have butchered that. From the SK Smart Committee Outreach.
Yes, thank you for having us. I don't know if the Smart Committee is the newest subcommittee within the town, but we're definitely newer. And It stands for Statistical Modeling Analytics Research Tools. And part of our mission, we've been having people come in from different departments within the town, presenting certain aspects of what they do within the town, how they run things, what some of their needs might be, and how we might be able to help them, with analyzing, planning, and public works, and that type of a thing. Police have been in, building inspector, GIS. And so we're doing outreach now to some of the other committees. We met with the Bicycle and Pedestrian Committee, and we're reaching out to you. So with your mission around the green energy and working on resources and public education, how you're trying to develop the, your goals for the town, whether we may be able to be of some assistance collaboratively to work with you.
Thanks for being here. Could you say what SMART stands for again? This is the first I'm hearing of it, actually.
Okay, it's Statistical Modeling Analytical Research Tools.
Okay.
And we're a committee of 9 people. The town manager, Rob Zarnitsky, is our staff member. And and so it's kind of we have a variety of talent, people who, do the analysis and statistical looks, data, breaking down how to analyze data, how to present data, among other things. And so, we're just trying to be available and collaborative, help people, help the different groups with their hopefully with some of their thinking.
Well, Jonathan,
That's
that would be
great.
great, because we've been wrestling with in the compost realm, and there's been talk about, trying to, get information together as to costs that the town incurs due to, waste being taken away. And we've talked about trying to get a study done, and maybe you can help us in this regards with that, and with the solid waste problem that we have and those issues.
Yeah, I had talked to Rob briefly about this, Jonathan, and thanks for joining us today. This is awesome, but just how difficult it is to get data around the amount of biosolids that the wastewater treatment plant sends to both Rhode Island Resource Recovery and to the incinerator, and what the trucking costs are associated with that, and just all these bits and pieces of waste that doesn't need to go to either incineration or a landfill, and just start to really be able to add those up and put dollar values to them. Where is all the restaurant waste going, and what are they paying to dispose of that, and grocery stores and consumers. So as Jim started saying, I think all of that information helps us start to paint a picture of the feasibility of some sort of townwide composting program.
Sounds like a challenge, and maybe there could be some efforts in collaboration to help break some of it down and figure out how to move forward.
You said you've got 9 statistical wonks on your team. You gotta love a challenge. We're excited.
We can expect the data by tomorrow morning. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, cross-tabulated.
Lauren has would be able to speak to so much of this much better than me. So, Lauren, if you want to.
Sure, and I apologize. I'm sitting in a parking lot in Providence at soccer practice, and my video on my phone's not working. So I'm joining you as best as I can, doing the soccer mom thing.
Hi, Lauren.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, so at this point, this is just our initial outreach. And I think if you feel that there's some way that our committee can be of assistance to you in either contemplating how to collect the data that you feel could be useful in moving forward your agenda items, or if you already have a sense of where those data come from, how we can help compile them for you. But really, we have the expertise on the committee to think about operationalizing your data collection, how to gather the data, how to analyze the data. We have different levels of expertise on the committee. We have people who are engineers. We have people like myself who have PhDs in the social sciences. We have other folks who are more kind of like an economic perspective, healthcare. So, if there's some kind of qualitative data collection that could be useful to you, that's also something we could talk about.
That's awesome.
Qualitative data collection or analysis. And really just want to let people know we exist as a committee and exist for this purpose. And so, really just to start the conversation and get you thinking about what your needs are and how we can assist you in any of that. It sounds like you have some really pressing things that you're working on at the moment that potentially could be a good fit.
3 things would be helpful. The compost study, the solid waste research that's like 20 years out of date. And then the other thing would be a sustainability dashboard, much like Providence has. So if I were to say, those are 3, would be any one of those would be amazing. All 3 would be like a home run.
And just real quick, as a little bit of a sidebar in the conversation that I was having with Rob, he was saying, and he has a good point, that one of the things that the town employees are facing is so many of these different committees kind of asking for a lot of the same data and really being taxing on the already overworked and overstressed departments as it is. Maybe, and he and I batted around some ideas about some sort of steering committee or kind of management committee around it, but maybe just thinking out loud here, you guys end up being a really good clearinghouse for all of that kind of stuff. Just that as you guys go forward, that may be something you want to talk to Rob about more.
Absolutely. And I think, we have a meeting, I believe it's either this Thursday or next Thursday, and we can go back to the larger committee and report out from our conversation with you this evening and kind of let them know what you're thinking and what your needs may be and